We would like to invite you to Minneapolis Holistic Expo, November 2nd and 3rd. The Holistic Expo will feature over 50 different exhibitors, several dynamic spiritual speakers, including James Van Prague, Vincent Genna, and John DeSalvo, many intuitive readers, and so much more. For more information on attending the Minneapolis Holistic Expo, go to www.edgelife.net.
This is Gary Beckham, welcoming you to the 2013 Edge Life Expo. Come and see us.
Everything is energy. What is energy? Energy are molecules that vibrate or move at a certain rate of speed. For instance, we're sitting in these chairs here. There's a building around me. The energy, the molecules are vibrating, moving at a very slow pace. Very slow. The slower they are, the more dense they become. Dense the building, the solidity of the space is. In this three-dimensional world, the molecules vibrate so slow, so we have what appears to be a physical, solid world here. There are many, many levels of vibration, many levels, if you will, and of speed of molecules vibrating. So there's a fourth dimension, fifth dimension, sixth dimension, seventh dimension. Each dimension, the molecules would vibrate faster and faster and faster and faster. I like to use the analogy of a speeding fan. When you have a ceiling fan and it moves around very, very quickly, you don't see the individual blades because it's moving too quickly. But if you stop that ceiling fan and you slow it down, you begin to see one blade, then another blade, another blade, another blade. Same thing with us. So we are those individual blades here on this physical earth. But you turn it on, you speed it up, you can't see them anymore. Same thing with us. We are a spirit force first and foremost, having a physical experience. And our spirit resides, of course, in the body, but also as a part of that spirit, which is that higher vibration of energy, higher vibration of frequency. So we're all energy all the time, just vibrating at a different rate of speed. So people often say, well, what is energy? How can you show me energy? Can you demonstrate energy? And I said, yes. There's a very simple exercise everybody can do. If you hold your hands like this, and you cup your hands, and you just become aware, just mindful of the space in between the palms of your hands, yeah, and just begin to have an awareness of what that feels like, you'll begin to feel a certain pulsation in between the palms of your hands. And soon you'll begin to feel like a difference in polarity, positive, negative, and you actually will feel this sensation of like a tingling sensation, and that's energy coming out of the palms of our hands. And I play with that like an accordion, and everybody can do that. Now, this energy feels a certain way, so I'm being very, very mindful of how it feels. It's a characteristic to that energy. And what I do then is to feel the energy that's coming out of the body with what we call the chakra points, energy centers of the body. So I'm going to start with my third eye center and just feel that, like, whoa. And I feel a difference in the temperature, a difference in pulsation, and it's a difference in density, vibration. Now mine feels very, very open and very clear. And that would make sense because I'm a clairvoyant. I see. So the energy goes pulled right out. Now if I go down to my throat chakra, which is another energy point, it's also it's a creative center. It's also pretty much out there. But there's a very subtle difference between what it feels like with here and here. Yeah? I could say this is more colorful. Yeah? And then I go down to my heart chakra, heart point, and that feels very, very different. Does it feel denser? Not really. It feels more complete. I don't like to put physical traits upon these energetic terms because you're putting these physical descriptions on another dimension, if you will. So then I go down to my solar plexus, which is our seat of intuition, our seat of knowingness, and that feels, wow. That feels like busy, 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 burn, 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 like interesting. So all of these centers, you can feel them distinctly different. And those are all energy points, so you can play with the energy and feel the energy. And remember, thoughts are pure energy. Thoughts are energy. So when you think of something, you're creating a thought, you're creating that energy to go somewhere. You're focusing the energy. That's what thoughts are, focused energy. So you think of someone, that goes right to the energy, goes right to them. So many people walk around the earth with a lot of people's energy on them. Not their own energy, but other people's energy. And I'll often say to people when I see them, did you take a shower or a bath today? And just joking, and they go, well, yes. I said, so you're concerned about your physical cleanliness. What about your spiritual cleanliness? Do you know how many people's thoughts are on you? Do you know how many people's thoughts, feelings, energy is stuck on you? It's just stuck on you? Are you doing anything to get rid of their energy? And somebody, no, how? So I tell them how to do that, how to get rid of the energy, because you have to be responsible for what comes in your sacred space. I once had a lady come to me for a reading, and she came to my door, and I looked at her, and her aura, her sacred space, was ripped and torn, holes, and there was all these spots on her, and she had other people's energy on her. She said, what's wrong with me? What's wrong with me? I said, it's not what's wrong with you, it's who's wrong with you. Whose energy are you carrying around with you? So I proceeded to get rid of that energy and peel away the different layers from other people's thought forms that were on her.
We would like to invite you to Edge Life's Minneapolis Holistic Expo. The Holistic Expo will feature over 50 different exhibitors, several dynamic spiritual speakers, and so much more. For more information, go to www.edgelife.net.
Hello, my name is Gary Beckman. I'm the producer of the Minneapolis Edge Life Expos. And today it is my privilege to interview Echo Bodine and Catherine Harwig, two of the foremost psychics in the upper Midwest. Many of you know them. They have agreed to answer some of the questions that many of you have, and they get the answers and the questions will give an example of what our expo will be like in the future. They're a wealth of information and knowledge that they can share with you. And I think my next question is that you hit a little bit on it, is preparation. Is that the tools that we can use to help us go through all of this. I believe meditation is the single most significant thing that has been given to us. That laying that out, i.e. meditation, what other tools can we use to enhance and make our lives better?
Well, okay, I agree that meditation is important, but the word meditation really throws people because they think they have to sit down and go do the Om thing and they have to be silent and sit in a certain position, and people get really concerned about, am I doing it right or wrong? What if I'm doing it wrong? Am I wasting my time? People have to learn different ways of meditating, which could be going for a walk by yourself, no music on the headphones, just walk, talk to your inner voice. I think the single most important thing that's important to me to teach people is about their intuition, that I believe that it is the voice of the divine within all of us, the voice of our higher self. And if we can connect with that and live our life by that guidance, really focus each day on getting the inner guidance, that to me is what is the single most important thing that a person can do. And again, meditation, prayer and meditation, I think are both very important, but I don't want to limit it to sitting at the kitchen table saying the same prayer every night, or meditation just sitting in a Om position doing something that I certainly don't do very well. So
meditation could be taking a 2-mile run or jog, or a 2 or 3 mile walk, or playing around the golf, or sewing your favorite costume, whatever happens to be relaxing to you, to go into yourself. Is
yes.
that where I'm...
To me, prayer is talking to God, and to me, meditation is listening to God. And so whatever you are doing, to be in that state of listening is what's most important, I believe.
And that is aligning the soul with the rest of your aspects then?
Well, it's aligning the physical body and the soul with the divine. Okay. All three.
Catherine?
Well, I don't meditate. I took a meditation class once and I flunked. So I'm saying that a little flippantly, but that as Echo was saying, the traditional form of meditation is just not my style. I tend to move fast, and I what I do every morning is I sit down with a cup of coffee and I have a conversation with my guides, and I say, what do I need to know for today? and they tell me, and we have a little conversation, and it's very pleasant, and I also think of other things and so forth. And if you're asking me what I think people should do, I think they have to quit. No, they don't have to do anything. Nobody ever does. But what would be useful is to quit looking for outside information and start looking inward.
Yep.
And when I'm talking about this evolutionary thing, I'm really seriously saying the people who are going to start becoming the intuitive species aren't going to need to even talk to, and I'll offend a lot of people. I don't know that you'll need to pray. I don't know if you'll need to talk to angels, because they'll be part of who you are. And so what you're really doing is just sitting down and having a conversation.
Yeah.
What I heard there, Catherine, is that we are gaining another sense, or having that other sense become awake or come alive.
Oh, we have had that sense for a very long time.
It hasn't surfaced to
But
everyone.
but there haven't. First of all, people have, I mean, it's been underground. It's been, and then people make it way too hard, so that nobody but the elite have been able to do it. And I do think we're simply getting much better at it.
I do too.
That's what I think is a big change.
Yep.
What do you want to know? Echo and Catherine, I want to ask you a very important question to me, and I think everyone out there. What will you be discussing with the audience?
We're asking the audience to bring their questions. We're really asking them what they want to know, and we're hoping, you've asked us a few questions in this interview. We're hoping that they bring those sorts of questions. We're not there to answer personal questions. We're not there to answer. Both Echo and I do that in other ways, but for this particular thing, these are questions that are of general interest to everyone. And we are interested in what their big questions are. What do they really want to know? You have ideas of what the audience might want to know, and Echo and I do. But what we want to hear from, so we'll be having people come up and ask their big questions, and hopefully something that will apply to everyone in the audience.
That is the secret to any worthwhile event, is that you can have some answers that will help the attendees, that will help the person on the street with their life. And that has to do with, that's why I hold these, for that simple reason. That's why I started the Edge magazine, to give thousands and thousands of people a lot of answers to a lot of questions. It doesn't happen to be in this religion, that religion, that religion, this philosophy, but for really what has come down as themselves. Now, Catherine, do you have anything to add, Echo, in this area?
What I like about the way we're going to do this is that we do get to hear what people are interested in. And because, again, both she and I do this kind of work every day, and we know the questions that our clients want answers to, but it would be fun to hear. It will be fun for both of us to hear, what the entire audience, what do they want to hear about? Do they want to hear about UFOs? Do they want to hear about spirit guides? Do they want to talk about God? Do they want to talk about intuition? Do they want to talk about the economy?
You want to talk about politics.
We don't want to assume that we know what they want to hear. That's why this talk is going to be different than any that we've done before, because we're asking the people, what do you want to know? Tell us.
And I'm very excited to be working with Echo. We've been friends for a very long time. Both of us, I think, are similar in a lot of ways, in that we're pretty practical, down-to-earth people who do all sorts of very fairy things. But so what I want to know, perhaps, are some of the very practical things that people will ask about. But I don't know what they'll be. Should they sell their house and move to Timbuktu or whatever? I don't. It's not a personal thing, so it's not their house, but in general. And we'll see what happens. It'll be fun, and I can't wait to hear what Echo has to say, and I'll be surprised at what I'm going to say.
I am waiting excitedly about what the answers will be to the hundreds or the many questions we will have asked us and them about the chaos, what's going on in our present life all over the world, and That is why it's a great privilege for me and the Edge Life Expo staff to share with you Catherine Harwick and Echo Bodine. Thank you.
We would like to invite you to Edge Life's Minneapolis Holistic Expo. The Holistic Expo will feature over 50 different exhibitors, several dynamic spiritual speakers, and so much more. For more information, go to www.edgelife.net.
Our stories, no matter how intense or ordinary, cause us to completely lose track of the most important key ability that allows everything we attempt become reality.
We were created by a higher source, right? The omnipotent power, the force of all there is, love, God, Yahweh, Buddha, whatever we want to call it, we come from something greater than us. In fact, when it created us, it actually divided itself into us. So it cannot separate itself from us. It is always a part of us. Just like when the human egg is fertilized, this is a zygote, and the zygote starts splitting into the 33 billion cells that become us. Each one of the cells carries our DNA. And in that DNA is all of who we are and all of who we're meant to become. Well, it's the same thing when God created us. When he divided himself, we got his DNA, its DNA, okay? And in its DNA is all of who we are, and it is. And that is attached to us forever, which means all of the wonderful things that go along with that, all abundance, all happiness, all joy, all prosperity, comes along with that inherently. So each one of us, just as we have the ability to take one of our human cells and pull the DNA from it and create a completely new being, we have the ability to use God's DNA to create the life we want. So if we're not, and if we're saying, God, it's not working, that means we're doing something wrong or something is missing. Let me see if I can explain this to you a little differently. When you want to bake a cake, and you gather some of the best ingredients, and you use the finest Rachel Ray utensils and mixing bowls to put it all together, and you pour it into a Pampered Chef expensive pan, and you stick it into the most expensive Genair oven, unless you've done the most important thing first, you will never get those ingredients to turn into a cake. What is the first line of directions in any recipe on baking a cake? Preheat the oven. You have to preheat the oven to let it get hot, so by the time you apply and put in the ingredients, it processes those ingredients into the cake that you want. So, if you are not living the life you want, or if you're attempting and keep hitting stumbling blocks, then you are missing or you've lost track of a process. The most important process that turns what you do into fruition. So what is this process that we're missing? I can't tell you. Not yet. I have to actually show you why you're missing it first. This is the mind we actually came in with and incarnated with. It's the mind that was created the moment God created us, and it divided itself. It's the mind that has its DNA. So it knows everything wonderful, loving, positive, joyful. So here we come, born into and incarnated into this physical world, and we grow into these wonderful, loving toddlers who enjoy every moment, every sound, every smell, every taste, every person, willing to share its melting ice cream cone with a stranger. Then life as we know it happens to it. And it begins to receive negative messages and influences from its environment. Dr. John Gray, who wrote Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, in one of his earlier books stated, our self-love begins to break down from the moment we hear the first negative unconscious message that we should not appreciate ourselves. So I say that again. Self-love breaks down from the moment we hear a negative message that we should not appreciate ourselves. So if you're not creating the life you want because the processing isn't working, this is where it began to break down. This is where all our pains come from, all our supposed insecurities, where we harbor feelings of lack of self-worth. We're not good enough. I'm not pretty enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not worthy. I'm not adequate. That's all developed down here. So, because the pains are so great from the environmental mind, and we don't like that, we create the adult-made mind. Isn't that nice and simple and clear? Or the AMM. The AMM protects us against the pains of the environmental-made mind. As a matter of fact, this is the mind that Freud said we harbor all of those defense mechanisms. In the adult-made mind and in the environmental-made mind, when you attempt to create anything that you want, you're missing the processing. You cannot process from up here. The processing comes from down there. This is completely fake. The heat that turns the ingredients into a cake, the process you need to turn everything you do into fruition, the thing that reconnects you to God, that reconnects you to all the wisdom, all the knowledge, all your inner peace, all your divinely endowed gifts, is unconditional self-belief and self-love. But you have to understand that when you think you're believing in yourself, when you're attempting to create a better life and it's not working, it's because you're using a false sense of self-belief. And you're going to use your own life to prove that as a barometer. To the extent that your life and dreams are unfulfilled and not working is the extent of your lack of self-belief. And I'll add, to the extent of your inability to love others and be loving is the extent of your lack of self-love. That's a hard one to accept, right? That is really hard. However, if it gives you an answer on how to turn everything around, then it's worth hearing, because the miracle answer is right around the corner. Hang in there with me. Let me turn this into a positive. To the extent that your life and dreams are fulfilled is the extent that you have unconditional self-belief and self-love. And you can reverse that too. To the extent that you have unconditional self-belief and self-love is the extent that your life and dreams are fulfilled. So if you want to know how much you believe in yourself or not, you have to use your life as a measurement. All right, now I know some of you are sitting there and you're saying to yourself, well, wait a minute. Are you saying that if I have any doubts that I'm not loving myself, or can't I love myself sometimes and not other times? Doubt, this small little word. Okay, it's like a tiny little cloud that happens to drift in on a nice sunny day, and it blocks the sun. Now, momentarily, you don't see the sun, but it doesn't mean that the sun is not there. As soon as more wind comes along, it blows the doubt out of the way, the cloud out of the way, and you see the sun again. All right, well, self-doubt is like that. Real self-doubt comes in, blocks a little, but because your self-belief is fairly strong, it then goes away. If you've got a cloud that comes in and refuses to leave, chances are you are working off of the wrong self-love. When you tap into true self-love, I mean, that gives you such strength. Yeah, things get in the way. So yes, can sometimes you love yourself and other times not love yourself? Yes, your poor soul is working its you-know-what off, and it keeps trying and trying and trying, and sometimes, like I said, it gets through and you feel that centering, that place that we're so thriving for and thirsty for. And then other times, it dissipates real easy. Well, if you're going back and forth real quick, chances are you're still living off of the false sense of self-belief. Well, here's the best part about all of that. You do not have to go through years of therapy to get rid of the AMM and EMM. The way you get rid of the AMM and the EMM is by facing it. Facing it. That's it. For example, you know when you have a nightmare? When you have a nightmare that somebody is chasing you and running after you, you feel that incredible fear, right? In my dream, I'm able to stop running, turn around, and look at what's chasing me. The minute I do that, even though the character may shoot me, stab me, try to kill me in some way, because that's what happens in your nightmares a lot, right? All right? I'm standing there in my dream, looking at myself with the bullet having gone through, totally unafraid, totally strong, and knowing I'm going to be all right, I can deal with this. And when I wake up with a sense of peace, realizing that that was a reflection of what I'm doing in my life. That even though negative will come along, the minute you face it, you disempower it. Some of your greatest spiritual leaders tried to teach that. Jesus, Gandhi, Martin Luther King Jr. all said, stand up to that which confronts you and threatens you, and you automatically disempower it. You do not have to fight back. Rosa Parks did not have a bat with her the day she refused to get up out of her seat. She faced the threat with love in her heart and peace, and the threat backed down.
We would like to invite you to Minneapolis Holistic Expo, November 2nd and 3rd. The Holistic Expo will feature over 50 different exhibitors, several dynamic spiritual speakers, including James Van Praagh, Vincent Genna, and John DeSalvo, many intuitive readers, and so much more. For more information on attending the Minneapolis Holistic Expo, go to www.edgelife.net.
This is Gary Beckman, welcoming you to the 2013 Edge Life Expo. Come and see us.